everyone, Rua here. Welcome to 2022 one and all. Square Enix gave us a vague preview of some of what they have lined up for this year, the year of Final Fantasy XI's 20th anniversary, but since it was so vague we haven't much to go off as it stands. They did announce that the master level cap is going up, and since I've been meaning to give my thoughts on it, now seems a good time. Implemented not too long ago, back in November of last year, master levels was something of a curveball. We knew that a new form of job progression was in the works, but we didn't expect it would be something of this scale. I'm sure most watching this know by now what the system entails, but let's go over it anyway just in case. Master levels are basically another leveling system akin to the journey from level 1 to level 99. Monsters now give three forms of experience: EXP, CP, and EP, experience, capacity, and exemplar points. Each master level gained on that job increases all base attributes, combat and magic skills that you can learn naturally on that job. Each level gained also increases HP by 7 and MP by 2. It all seems small, I know, but believe me, it adds up by the time you reach the current cap of level 20. Above all, however, and this was the real surprise, every 5 master levels gained increases the maximum sub-job level allowed on that job. So for the first time in, well, a very long time, new options have opened up from sub-job selection, and this has had a large impact on certain jobs. There's quite the list of what's become available, but I'm just going to point out 2 from the jobs I've gotten capped out so far. Ninja now has access to a higher level Rune Fencer subjob for tanking, giving it another great enmity tool with Valiance and more defense from the MDB trait. Rune Fencer's subjob potentially reaching level 58 is a very big deal for paladins, especially as it finally gives them foil. The absolute biggest winners from the current state of the master level system are Red Mage and Scholar though. White Mage subjob rising to level 51 finally gave them Curaga 3. An AoE healing spell literally double the power of the previous tier they could use. This is actually a really big deal, as it gives groups 2 more healers to choose from easier. Scholar and to a lesser extent Red Mage could both function as healers even before this, but now having that emergency button available lowers the risk factor of not having the White Mage in the party. Now that a master level cap rise has been announced, we can start looking ahead and looking forward to what is on the horizon. I'm assuming that the cap will be increased by another 20 levels, putting the new cap to master level 40, and subsequently the sub-job level cap to 57. It's just assumption, but let's see what's coming. White Mage sub will give Auspice, which is only 10 subtle blows since the Eva's duck builds are what push it to 25%, but yeah, it's something. Black Mage sub will give Sleep Guard 2. This is really nice for Geomancers especially, since it will give them a form of AoE enmity register for debuff Geomancy without having to wake everything up with a Ra spell, potentially getting their Bard or their tank in trouble. Sleep Guard 2 for doing this won't always be necessary, but having the option there is welcome. Red Mage sub will give Fast Cast 3, a 20% value of the trait. It's pretty easy to cap Fast Cast on mage jobs these days, so it's not too special, but again, it's something that's there. Scholar sub will be the real winner from the next cap increase though, and at first glance it's not too apparent why. Geomancer and especially Bard have the equipment to cap cure potency. Bard is even on the K-Col set, giving it a hefty amount of cure potency too. What has held them both back from becoming borderline legit healers in their own right has been their lack of native healing magic skill. White Mage sub gives both Cure 4 and now Curaga 3, but the amounts healed are noticeably lower than that of Red Mage and Scholar, largely due to this lack of skill. Scholar sub will fix this entirely, since it will now gain Cure 4 and the Rapture stratagem for the times a massive heal is needed. This means that Bard subbing Scholar will have B+ native healing magic skill, excellent gear for healing, Cure 4, Curaga 4 from a session with a reduced reuse timer, songs, crowd control, and some light DPS with a fencer build if it wants. Bard could well be the winner from the next cap increase. As far as DPS subs go, there's 2 which really stand out. Dark Knight sub will get the 3rd tier of Smite and Damage Limit trait. For two-handed weapon users like Dragoon, Samurai, and Rune Fencer, this is substantial. Dragoon only gets the 2nd tier of Smite natively, but it gets the 3rd tier of Damage Limit. Samurai, on the other hand, gets none of the smite trait natively and only gets 2 tiers of the damage limit trait, so it stands to be a major winner from the next cap increase. The ultimate winner, however, is Runefencer. Dark Knight sub was already decent for that job, with some enmity tools alongside Last Resort, Smite and Damage Limit underscoring its role as a DPS tank. This will all improve and serve it well in content where it's not tied to Blue Mage sub. Finally, the Dragoon sub, which has gained a lot of popularity lately, will get slightly stronger with the second tier of the weapon skill damage boost trait becoming obtainable. The November update also gave us new Apex camps, seemingly aimed at players looking to max out their master levels. Returning to the Prometheans especially were a nice nostalgia trip for many, but, well, really I'm not that fond of it as it stands. My gripes stem from the self-evident fact that the developers have not learned from the mistakes made in the job point system, that excess points earned on one's job cannot be used on another. The counter-argument of progression needs to be tied to each job doesn't hold up either. Merit points did this over a decade ago and did it well. This is something that I thought needed to be an option for job mastered jobs, the ability to spend excess and unused job points on other jobs. Even at an elevated rate if needs be, just give them something to be used on. There is the option to spend 10,000 job points on bypassing the Dynamis Divergence Clear requirement to augment an REM weapon, but really, who did that? The real problem is, these new Apex camps need such a high degree of support to be viable. Literally every single group I've seen gathering for them needs all 3 of Bard, Geomancer and Corsair, every time without fail. It did not take long for the majority of career support players to reach the cap, a week tops. So if players wanting their DPS jobs, let alone non-meta jobs, sorted out needed to get in the door fast, or they'd find themselves struggling as the server's supply of support dwindled further and further. Frankly, once the supports run completely dry, players are left with a handful of options. One is to hope for the charity of Link Shell members or a quid pro quo arrangement. I've had this done for me and I've done it for others, so it really is the go-to option. Second is to use a suboptimal setup without proper support, which will drag the grind out even further and likely crush a spirit or 2 along the way. The third is to just cave in and buy points from the RMT bots, which I don't condone but can ultimately not begrudge people for doing given the extreme reliance on all jobs of a handful. I recall the developers saying back in the update notes back in November that there would be other ways for master points to be earned from, to quote, high-level battles to be added in future. But there's a good chance that won't solve the issues present right now. Those battles will likely need the same level of support and the jobs that provide it, so this stands to actually make the scarcity of support even worse if it proves to be a viable alternative to grinding away. So, in trying to keep it constructive, what's the solution here? I think there need to be adjustments made to some jobs to enable them to support groups better. There have been good moves made to increase the number of viable tanks and healers, but the problem is there's just a major lack of viable supports. Summoner and Red Mage are the prime candidates here. What's the endgame here though? Well, to prepare for more endgame. The purpose of these master levels is, I suspect, to put players at a higher power level without having to increase the level cap itself beyond 99. We know that there is high level battle content waiting for us at the end of the Voracious Resurgence storyline, so it seems that this is getting us to the place we need to be at to tackle it. I do wonder what this will do for existing content though. It'll make it trivial in the long term, but that's inevitably what happens in MMOs, this one included. To sum this up, while I like what master levels bring to certain jobs, I'm not fond of the overly grindy nature in the way that they're obtained. It does not feel inspired, it's a carbon copy of the way job points were done, and problems with that system, specifically the lack of support jobs available, were not accounted for. I'm hoping that better, more engaging, and above all, more inclusive ways of getting to level we will likely need to be at for future endgame will be added sometime early in this new year. Okay, that's all for now. See you all next time.